I'll open with a short story. There was a veteran of the Yom Kippur War, a soldier who served on the Northern Front, who tells how in the heavy days of fighting, he was sent to the Hermon on a very dangerous mission. As some of you may know, in the early part of the conflict in the Yom Kippur War, Mount Hermon, which was a Syrian stronghold for several weeks, the Syrians came in and took hold of Mount Hermon until Israel was able to recapture it back. So here's this soldier, he's walking down the mountain in the darkness of night. He's all alone, he's on a secret mission, and he describes how but for the crunching of the leaves beneath his feet and the pounding of his heartbeat, it's quiet all around him. This brave soldier, he's descending this mountain into the valley, knowing that any moment a shot could ring out and end his life. He says, I'm walking alone, and I don't know what to think. I don't know what to say. I'm not very religious, but somehow from somewhere deep within my soul, from my distant past, this song came to me from Psalm 23. And I began to quietly sing this to myself. Gam ki elech begates al moves, even as I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, lo irara ki ata imadi. I have no fear because you are with me. And suddenly I find myself singing these words from the book of Tehillim over and over again. I'm walking deeper into the dark valley, singing these powerful words to this haunting melody, and suddenly I'm overcome by this tremendous feeling of deja vu. Like I've been here before, like I've done this before. And the more I think about it, I realize how strange this is because I've never done this before and I've never been here before. And then suddenly it dawned on me that I wasn't alone at all. That I can actually feel the presence of Abraham and of Isaac and of Jacob, and they're walking alongside me. I could almost see King David and Elijah the prophet leading the way. I could feel the presence of the 6 million walking right behind me, encouraging me, strengthening me, singing with me. I wasn't alone. I was part of a long, powerful chain. And no matter what might happen to me in the next instant, I wasn't afraid anymore. Gam ki elech, for even as I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I do not fear evil because I know you are with me. You're all with me. And he felt the presence of Klal Yisrael, of the Jewish people with him, so that he was not alone. And so as we spoke last week more about what took place on October the 7th. And we spoke about our vow to the 6 million of never again, and how we kept that vow over the last 24 months. And so I hope and I believe that the 6 million up in heaven were proud of us. Proud of how the Jewish people handled this massacre, this tragedy. How Israel responded, how the IDF responded, and how each and every single Jew, how we responded. And I hope we did them proud. They were proud of us. This week I want to focus on another verse. The verse comes from the Bible. It comes from the portion of Balak, and you've heard it in recent months. I'll give you the full version of it, and you'll see that it'll come to mind. The verse is, Hein am kalavi yakum, behold a nation that rises like a lioness and lifts itself like a lion. Those powerful words in the book of Numbers were spoken by none other than Bilam the prophet, a non-Jewish prophet. His job, he was hired to curse the Jewish people. But he can only bless them. Only blessings came out of his mouth. A nation that rises like a lion is what he calls us. As we all know by now, it is based on that verse that the historic military operation launched against Iran 4 months ago was named Operation Rising Lion. They took it from that biblical verse. For that image of a people who may crouch low, who may bleed, who may mourn, who may stray for a time, but who rise up again with the strength and resolve of a lion. That's the story of the Jewish people. That's Am Yisrael. That's been our story for millennia, and that's our story today. On October 7th, 2023, as we spoke about last week, the gates of hell were opened. Families were butchered, families were massacred, women were violated, children were dragged from their homes, young people were slaughtered at a music festival. 251 souls were taken into the depths of Gaza and held hostage in dark, suffocating tunnels. The grief was devastating. The grief was paralyzing. But if our enemies thought that we would crumble, they didn't understand who we are. As one brave mother of a hostage declared, we were quiet at first, we were shocked at first, but silence is not our way. Jews cry, and then we roar. Throughout this time, we have been witnessing a world completely upside down. Terrorists were glorified. The victims were blamed. Innocent students at college campuses were assaulted. College leaders were defending hatred as free speech before the eyes of the world. It wasn't in secret, it was in front of House of Representative congressional testimony that they called it free speech. Jews were violently attacked on city streets, causing injury and in some cases death, creating a direct link between those ugly chants of globalized intifada to actual physical acts of terror and violence on the streets of our own country. And yet, the Jewish people, we rise up. Not with fear, not with embarrassment, not with intimidation, but with a sense of pride, with purpose, and with strength. Hein Am Kalavi Yakum, a nation that rises like a lion. From increased attendance at synagogues all across the world, people coming to Torah classes perhaps that didn't come in years, ritual observance of putting on tefillin, more mezuzos were put up in the last 2 years than any 2-year period to memory. All of this was our response, our national response of every Jew everywhere in the world to say we're not going to hide. We're going to stand up stronger and we're going to be prouder of who we are. We live on, we learn, we celebrate our Judaism, and we're prouder and louder than we ever were before. And in the face of all the ignorant and despicable lies and the libels that have been hurled at Israel, accusations of genocide, of apartheid, of colonialism, and other such drivel, as it fought to bring its kidnapped citizens home and prevent future October 7th, Israel has drawn a clear line for the world to see this is what never again looks like once and for all. It was in the spring and the summer of last year that things began to take a dramatic turn. First, let's see if we remember. The elimination of the political head of Hamas right in the heart of Tehran. That suddenly turned the tide. Suddenly we were gaining the upper hand. The vaporization of some of the world's most notorious terrorist leaders and masterminds, including Nasrallah, Sinwar, Daif, and countless others, Yamach Shemam v'Zichram. One by one, Israel was going after them, finding them, and eliminating them. Then you remember the pagers and the walkie-talkies carried by thousands of Hezbollah terrorists, suddenly exploding on that same second across Lebanon, taking untold number of murderers off the battlefield, leaving everyone around the world scratching their heads and wondering, how did they do that? It's the stuff that Hollywood movies can't even come up with. And ultimately, two of Israel's most vicious, long-standing enemies, Hezbollah in Lebanon and the Assad regime in Syria, were essentially nullified. The tide was turning. In two major attacks by Iran, first 2024, let's go back the year, April 2024, and then October 2024. More than 500 missiles and drones were launched by Iran towards Israel by the Ayatollah's regime. These are not small-time missiles. These are major war missiles. Each one can take out blocks and blocks of people. Each one is capable of killing thousands. 500 of them were launched by a powerful nation of Iran against a very small country, Israel. Most of the 500 were intercepted by Israel's aerial defenses with American assistance. The few missiles that did get through landed mostly in sand, water, and empty spaces. These are precision-guided missiles targeting densely populated cities in a microscopic country, and they landed in empty spaces. It's unfathomable within the realm of nature. These things don't happen in warfare. Countries don't send 500 missiles and every one misses its target. In responding to those attacks, Israel utilized the opportunity to take out Iran's significant radar and defense systems. That's what Israel was targeting back, not the population centers. They were going after the radars. Why? Because that rendered the regime naked and vulnerable for what Israel had planned for the future. They were setting it up for what their ultimate plan was. And on June 13th, 2025, just 4 months ago, it came. Operation Rising Lion, and the ensuing 12-day war, as it's been called. In a mission that stunned military experts and inspired people worldwide, Israel struck deep into Iran, destroying nuclear sites, missile stockpiles, and key military and scientific assets. Experts compared it to the miracles that we saw in the Six-Day War. Now, we all know how much pain and suffering, death and destruction this evil regime in Tehran has brought upon the world in general, and Israel in particular. Let's go back to the Iran hostage crisis. Those of you that remember this from the late 70s. They have been causing difficulties in that part of the world and throughout the world, terrorist attack after terrorist attack. How many United States Army bases did they attack, killing our own soldiers? The past 46 years, this regime has been nothing but terror to the world. And we all know that a nuclear-armed Iran, what that would mean to Israel's existence, and what that would mean to the future of civilization itself. In the words of Prime Minister Netanyahu, we have internalized the lessons of history. When an enemy says he intends to destroy you, believe him. When the enemy develops the capabilities to destroy you, stop him. It's that simple. We didn't believe that Hitler would carry through on his evil plans. We've learned the lesson of history. So Israel laid the groundwork and America delivered the finishing blows. It was mind-boggling, it was breathtaking, it was awe-inspiring. Think about this. Iran is more than twice the size of Texas. Iran has 93 million people. Israel is the size of New Jersey, and it has 10 million people. How was little Israel pulling all this off before the eyes of the world? And the answer that I would like to focus on today are two essential assets that protect her. One is the unmatched bravery of the members of the IDF and Israel's intelligence agencies. They are from the top. They are not anonymous soldiers. They are, as I call them, the modern-day Maccabees. They are our family. They are our brothers. They are our sisters. They are our relatives, our nephews, our nieces, and our grandchildren. And they're willing to risk everything to defend our homeland. How many agents do we have presently living in Iran, giving the information that Israel needs for its battle with this evil regime? And then the second, and the most important asset, protecting Israel. God Almighty. We do not survive because we're more powerful or more numerous, but because we are part of an eternal covenant. The reason we are in Israel and have been there for 3,500 years is because God said to our forefather in this week's Torah portion, "This is your home." And that promise has remained with us. And that promise echoes today just as it did back when God first said it to Abraham. Defying every natural law of history, the Jewish people have thrived against all odds. We have persevered, we have forged on with our faith and with our Torah. We have made it through the darkness. And that is why on Thursday, June 12th, this is hours before the launch of Operation Rising Lion, Prime Minister Netanyahu went to pray at the Western Wall. Because he knows that even with the best intelligence and the best planning and the best execution, there was going to be a need for miraculous operations that can only succeed with help from the above. Small but pesky and proud Israel continues to remind the world that Netzach Yisrael lo yishaker, the glory and the eternity of Israel shall not fail. We may falter for a time, we may get wounded, we may get hit, but we shall not fail. And yes, it's been hard. It's been a hard 24 months. Even as we sit here today, our dear soldiers are still there. There are still soldiers battling in Gaza. There are still soldiers putting their lives on the line, whether it's on the northern border, the southern border, or in Judea and Samaria. There are thousands of Israeli families that are still mourning the loss of loved ones of the last 24 months. Around the world, Jews continue to be targets of anti-Semitism and hate in a way most of us would never have thought that we've seen in our lifetime. It's been difficult. So how do we cope with this emotional and spiritual roller coaster? How do we navigate between these two extremes of faith and pride on one hand and concern and sadness on the other? So to give this some perspective, allow me to go back in time. Let's go back again to the early weeks and months just after the October 7th attacks. During that time, as I spoke last week, I visited Israel twice. Once immediately after October 7th and then a few months later. We went to extend physical, emotional, and spiritual support to our soldiers, to the families of the hostages, to the refugees forced from their homes, and to many others affected by the catastrophes. And during those visits, I witnessed something truly remarkable. Yes, there was the emotional power of it, and we spoke about that in detail last week. And yes, the country was hurting, and people were anxious, and people were in mourning, and people were crying, and there was praying, and there was longing, and there was yearning. But alongside all that pain, there were other powerful emotions that were stirring as well. Through it all, there was this unmistakable, underlying spirit of resolve and resilience. You felt it everywhere. We're not leaving. We're not moving. We will not be defeated. There was optimism, there was hope that pervaded the hearts and souls of the broader population. And you felt it wherever you went in Israel. Yes, there were the haunting signs and posters with the pictures of the hostages with the slogan, "Bring them home." Yes, that was the overpowering message coming from Israel. But you also saw other messages prominently displayed on billboards, on signs, on buildings. Am hanetzach lo mefachdim, the people of eternity are not afraid. The people of eternity will be victorious. Wherever you went, Israeli flags were everywhere. There was a sense of solidarity, a sense of strength, a sense of pride. And that's when it dawned on me. While for most people, the prevailing aphorism is, you hear this expression, seeing is believing, right? You've heard that before? Seeing is believing. What does that mean? If I can perceive something with my physical senses, then it's real. And if I can't, then it's not. That's the prevailing attitude. But for the Jewish people, our aphorism is quite the opposite. I reverse it. For us, believing is seeing. Our faith enables us to see hope while others see despair, light while others see darkness, great triumphs while others see insurmountable obstacles. We reverse it. David Ben-Gurion said it this way: in Israel, to be a realist, you must believe in miracles. You don't survive there without that. It's not seeing is believing. No, we start with the faith. We start with believing. And when we believe, then we see. Indeed, our reality has never been rooted in the natural or the empirical. The only reason the Jewish people exist today is because throughout history we have refused to see only that which is on the surface. We wouldn't be in Israel today if we were looked at statistically, can we survive there? You can't survive this little outpost surrounded by enemies that want to see you destroyed and believe you're going to be there tomorrow. In the face of every great challenge, we have employed a vision, a capacity to see beyond our present circumstances, to dream of what could be and with God's help would be. So we start with the faith. If you examine the events since October 7th, you can trace the arc of this timeless Jewish phenomenon playing out in microcosm over the short span of the last 24 months. It testifies to the indomitable spirit of Am HaNetzach, this eternal nation. It testifies to the statement, Anachnu, that means we are, Ma'aminim, we are believers, B'nei Ma'aminim, the children of believers. That faith goes from us all the way back to Abraham. And we continue one generation after the next generation being Ma'aminim b'nei Ma'aminim. The people for whom believing is seeing. The people for whom Am Yisrael Chai is not just a nice phrase. It's not just a nice song, but it's a historical reality. Am Yisrael Chai means we have survived when there were no chances for survival. We have this unshakable awareness that whatever the pain or hardships, we're going to get through it and we're going to come out stronger on the other side. Here's a simple anecdote. Colleagues of mine, Rabbi Rafi and Chana Filler, they are the shluchim, they are the emissaries leading the Chabad on-campus program at Ithaca College in Ithaca, New York. They were in their early stages, just opening a place, building a following of Jewish students, including Shabbat dinners and holiday events and classes and study programs. And like many campuses across the country, Jewish students of Ithaca College were not immune to the loud anti-Israel demonstrations, as it was on every single campus in our country, just about. So I want to rewind the clock. It's March 2024. The holiday of Purim is approaching. The Fillers, like good Chabad rabbis, are looking for a way to have more students participate in the festivities of the holiday of Purim. They have a small operation, a small building, which wouldn't fit the amount of students they want to get to come to their Purim festival. So they come up with an idea. Rather than rent space, they're going to go ahead and rent a party bus. These party buses, they have loudspeakers all around, they blast music, and they're going to drive throughout the campus. They'll stop in every corner. Students will come out of their houses, they'll dance with us, it'll be a beautiful festival, we'll give them some hamantashen, every once in a while we'll read the Megillah, we'll give out some groggers. A brilliant idea. So they go ahead and they rent this party bus. Now, the holiday of Purim that year fell out on a Saturday night. Okay? The fillers arrange for the bus to come to their place, come right after Shabbat is over. We'll meet the bus outside our office and we'll parade through the campus. Now the fillers are keeping their regular Shabbat, having their Friday night dinner, their Shabbos day services, and they're immune. They don't know what's going on the campus out there. Little do they know that weekend, the whole place was packed with pro-Palestinian rallies, demonstrations. It was loud out there, but they're in their little cocoon. They don't know what's happening out there. They're not watching the news. They're not hearing the news. It's Shabbat. So they're just doing their thing. And they decided that Saturday night, the pro-Palestinian people, they were going to do what they called a death-in. Death-in, they were all going to lie down in the streets, and they're going to be dead, to show the genocide that Israel is doing in Gaza. So you have thousands of these demonstrators coming into the campus for this Saturday night dead-in demonstration that they were going to do. Again, the fillers are not aware that this is going on. Shabbos is over, it's now Purim. Their party bus pulls up. They're blasting Jewish music and they start going through the camp. Now, the Jews of the campus all stayed home because they don't want to come out. Why? Because there's going to be thousands of demonstrators in the streets with their dead in or whatever. So they're all staying in. All of a sudden you hear blasting Jewish music. They start coming out of their houses, one by one by one. The streets are filling up with Jews coming out to this party bus. And even the dead-end demonstrators are hearing all of these music, so they're standing up to try to see the revival of the dead took place right there in front of us. And it was the most festive Purim to take place on that campus ever, because everyone just wanted to be able to stand up proud and tall and say, I'm not intimidated, I'm not afraid, and celebrate their holiday. The madness, the lunacy of the protests and the demonstrators. Look, haters are haters. We all know what their agenda is about, and the people putting them up to it. But when you have those, as they would have been called, useful idiots, who think they're being so virtuous, who think they're being so compassionate, when all they did for 2 years, really all they did for 2 years, was embolden Hamas. They literally did what Hamas wanted them to do. That's what they were up to. And it prolonged the pain and the misery of the war to the detriment of all. The people of Gaza were no better off because of these demonstrators. It just extended everything for 24 months. Because Hamas felt there were allies. There were people taking their side. Imagine if they were to invest all of that passion, all of that energy into condemning the perpetuators of the evil. If that would have been the focus of every demonstration across the world, how much sooner this would have come to an end. That would have been doing something good. Instead, they stood up and demonstrated in favor of murderers, in favor of terrorists, who would just as soon extinguish them and their way of life if only given the chance. These demonstrators are held signs, queers for Gaza, really. You try that in Gaza and see how long you're going to live. I mean, the lunacy of the demonstrations. Of course, any clear-minded human being with even a semi-functional moral compass and basic knowledge of the facts should be able to see that this conflict, as we said last week, has nothing to do with land. It doesn't even have to do with Palestinian self-governance. It has nothing to do with any of those things. It has to do with pure hate. They want to kill every Jew on the face of the earth. They say it openly, and they show the cruelty and the savagery to back it up. That is the proven nature of evil. The greater evil always attacks the greater good. That's their target. That's always been their target. So their first point of attack may be Israel, but it's never the last. It doesn't end with Israel. Case in point, have we forgotten 9/11? It starts with Israel, but it spreads. Sooner or later, every civilized nation will thank Israel for the actions it has been taking during this time. It may take a while, but Europe one day will wake up and say, Israel was right. And look at what's taking place now in our capital, in our country. It takes time. For some, that time is now. Some nations are recognizing it now. For others, it may take years. For others, it may take decades or longer, as I've mentioned before. Dick Cheney, when he was Secretary of Defense, sent a thank you letter to Israel for taking out the Iraq nuclear power decades earlier when the Reagan administration condemned Israel for doing so. It took 15 years, but the thank you will come. The thank you will come from across the world for Israel, how they fought terrorism. Sooner or later, all will recognize that this is not a war between two countries. It's not a war between political points of view. It's a war between good and evil. Israel just happens to be on the front line of that war yet again. Historically speaking, mass anti-Semitism is a sign of a world in crisis. It's anger looking for a scapegoat. This is not just about Israel. It's not just about Gaza. It's not about Yemen. It's not just about Iran. It's a global crisis. It's the defining battle of the 21st century. And so now more than ever, the world needs the Jewish insistence on the sanctity of life. Now more than ever, we must stand tall and stay true to our mission and have the courage to engage with the world and its challenges. We must not allow ourselves to be defined by those who hate us. We must be defined by what the Torah defines us, being a blessing to ourselves, and a blessing to the world. That's what this week's portion of Lech Lecha is all about. Be a blessing. That's who we are. And the more we do that, the more it becomes clear that we're not alone. That we may be a people apart different from other nations, but we are not alone. For one thing, we do have friends in the world, and we do have allies. For another, we have each other. We're strong together. And most of all, we are never ever alone, because God is always with us. He's protecting us, He's guiding us, He's pushing our way through our destiny. There was once this 9-year-old boy. Let's call him Danny. Danny lived in London. His grandparents lived in Manchester. He loved visiting his grandparents. He loved spending time with his grandparents. And 2 or 3 times a year, his parents would take him on the train. They would go on the train from London to Manchester. His grandparents would be waiting by the train station to take them to their home, and they would spend the weekend there. And he longed for these weekends. He loved spending time with Grandpa and Grandma. And he loved the train ride also. It was a beautiful train ride from London to Manchester. He would sit next to his parents. He would look out the window. And before he knew it, they would arrive in Manchester. He would embrace his grandfather, his grandmother. As time went on, Danny thought to himself, wouldn't it be nice if I could visit my grandparents for a weekend more often than 3 times a year? I mean, this train ride seems like it's easy. Why don't I just go more often? He brings up the idea with his parents. I know for you guys it's a big schlep. But for me, would you let me go by train myself? You'll bring me to the train station. You'll put me on the train. The doors will close. In 2 hours, I'll get off the train, and Grandma and Grandpa will be there. I'll spend the weekend with them. I'll be all alone with them. It'll be fantastic. And then they'll put me on the train, and you'll be waiting for me. I can do it. I said, Danny, you're a little young, 9 years old, to travel by yourself. It's a little too young. But Danny kept on pushing and pushing. But I want to spend time with Grandma and Grandpa. I want to spend time with them. And finally his father said, all right, Danny, here's the deal. For your 10th birthday, if you still want to do it, we're going to let you go by yourself. As you say, we'll take you to the train station, we'll put you on the train, and Grandma and Grandpa will be waiting for you when the train comes to Manchester. He's all excited. 3 months to go to his 10-year-old birthday. 3 months to go, he can travel by himself. He's feeling big, he's feeling macho, he's feeling great. 2 months to go, 1 month to go, 2 weeks to go, 1 week to go, 2 days to go. It's his birthday. And for my birthday gift, I want to go to Grandma and Grandpa. Parents have to keep their word. And so they take him to the train station. They get the ticket to the train. Danny's father walks him to the train, puts him on the train, takes his little suitcase, puts it up above the seat. Danny, you sure you want to do this? You're sure you want to do this? At this point, Danny inside is very nervous. He's very tense. But he can't say that to his dad. He's been pushing and lobbying for this for so long, so he's got to follow through. And he tells his father, I'm fine. but it's there. The anxiety is starting to kick in. What am I doing? Am I crazy? I'll be all alone for the next 2 hours. But he can't say anything to his father. And his father picks up a little apprehension. He says, Danny, you don't have to do this. You could wait till the next time we're gone. No, I'm going. I'm fine. And as his father is saying goodbye to Danny and giving him his final hug, he takes a piece of paper that's folded and he puts it in his son's hand and he says, listen, put this in your pocket. If during the trip, for whatever reason, you're frightened, just read the note and you'll be okay. You'll calm down. Don't worry then. Takes the note, puts it in his pocket, forgets about it. I'll be okay. They say goodbye. Danny goes to his seat. The train doors close. The train pulls out of the station. And as soon as it pulls out of the station, his anxiety level goes through the roof. He is so scared. He's so nervous. He doesn't know who these people are in the same car with him. Who are they? The next stop, these wild teenagers come on. They're using foul language. They're screaming. Now he's scared. Now he's panicking. And it really continues to grow and grow until it's developing into a panic attack. He's having a complete panic attack on this train, and he's all alone. His parents aren't there. This was such a crazy idea. What was I thinking? I'm only 10 years old. What if these teenagers want to hold me up? What if they steal my suitcase? What if they beat me up? He's just wild ideas building in his mind. And then he remembers. His father said, if you get scared, take the paper out of your pocket and read the note. Takes the paper, opens it. Dear Danny, if you're reading this note while still on the train, stay calm and walk to the back of the train because you'll find me in the last car. Danny grabbed his suitcase and walked through the train to the last car. Sure enough, his father is sitting there and he's relieved to the heavens. He ran into his father's arms with his father on board. He was back to being safe and secure. My friends, throughout life's journey, great challenges arise for us. We panic. We feel like we're going it alone. But that's not the case. At all times, a Jew figuratively carries a note from God in his pocket that says, Imai anoichi b'tzara. I am with you in your time of need. I am with you in distress. I'm on the train with you. Just go look for me in the back train, the back car. Grab hold of your suitcase. Take your heavy load and find me. Because I'm there for you on your journey. Let's go back to the words we started with today. Even if I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil because you are with me. No matter what may be going on in the world, no matter what may be going on in our lives, anachnu ma'aminim b'nei ma'aminim. At our core, we are a nation of believers, and we don't despair. We hold on to our faith. That said, we must bear in mind that the Jewish approach to faith, our Jewish approach to hope, is not that the belief that God has written the script and now we just sit back and let God do his thing. No, we're not fatalists. Our concept of faith and hope is that God has given us the means to save ourselves. That he has invested in us. He's given us the skill, the know-how, the talents, the resources, the courage. He's put that all in us. But it's incumbent upon us not just to believe that things will get better, but to do what it takes to make things better. Years ago, during difficult times in Eretz Yisrael, the former chief rabbi of Israel, Rabbi Yisrael Meir Lau, came to New York to visit with the Lubavitcher Rebbe. The situation in Eretz Yisrael was bleak. The Rebbe asked Rabbi Lau, what is the Jew in Israel saying? What's on their mind? Rabbi Lau said the Jew in Israel is asking in Yiddish, was wird sein? What's going to be? What's going to be? What's happening here? To which the Rebbe responded, a Jew shouldn't ask, was wird sein? What's going to be? The Jew must ask, was geht min ton? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Less dread and despair, more faith and actions. As Jews, we're never the victims of our circumstances. We are the controllers of our destiny. So let's not underestimate what each of us can do to illuminate the darkness of these days with lights of hope, with optimism, with strength, and most importantly, with resilience. Let's not underestimate the difference we can make when we speak out for Israel in any form at our disposal, by supporting Israel, by praying for Israel, by increasing our performance of mitzvot for Israel, by studying more, by being stronger, prouder Jews. We help every single soldier that stands on the front lines. Israel feels our support. They know when we rally to their defense. Every single one of us plays a role. And in that merit, indeed, Am Yisrael will be strong both physically and spiritually. And it will truly be Am Yisrael Chai.